From CareCredit, it's Care Experts, a podcast where we dive deep into the health and pet care industry with the professionals that make it happen. I'm Antonio Diaz, and this is Logan. If you've ever had a dog, you've probably witnessed some pretty strange and often hilarious behaviors. From getting the Zoomies to spinning in endless circles before lying down, or even eating grass, it can leave you wondering, why do they do that? Well, to help us figure it out, we've got Dr. Kathy Wiedekehr here. With over 25 years of experience as a veterinarian, she's seen just about every quirky dog behavior that you can imagine. She's going to help explain why your dog does these weird things, and in some cases, how it could actually be a sign that something's off with their health. Dr. Kathy, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here and chat all things dog today. We're talking about quirky behaviors and some funny habits that dogs do, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
Antonio, I can't believe how lucky I am to be sitting here with an expert like you. I can't wait to hear your insights.
So today we're talking about all the weird and quirky behaviors that dogs do. What are some of the craziest, weirdest behaviors that you've seen dogs do?
My own dog, Jaggy, his favorite thing to do now is go find a used box from Amazon and rip it to shreds. And that's his nightly routine. I think it's very self-soothing, but he'll literally go and bark if he does not have his piece of cardboard.
Really?
Yes, it's his favorite. And it's really cute. I mean, in the morning, there's shreds of cardboard all over the place, but he loves that.
Yeah. Logan is a very vocal dog, and I've learned a lot about him with regard to that. One of the things that he does is he does these I guess I should just do the impression. He's just like, oh. Like he does this talking, but as we spoke about earlier, he's a wild dog, so it's kind of not surprising that he's so vocal. But that's such a weird thing because a lot of times when people hear it, especially when he interacts with their dogs, like if I'm out at a park, a local park, and he's playing with a dog, he's so vocal, and if you don't know what you're hearing, it kind of sounds like it's aggression, but it's not at all. He's just super vocal. What are some behaviors that you've seen, let's say from in your practice, that maybe you needed to explain to people that it was fairly normal or maybe not something to be concerned about?
Well, I think one of the most frequent questions I get asked, and I'd love to hear your input on this, but why does my dog eat poop?
Oh my gosh.
That is like a favorite, or not a favorite, a least favorite question that people have to ask me. And so my own explanation, sometimes there are medical reasons for that. But also sometimes dogs are just bored, or, again, they figure if they clean up the poop, then they won't get in trouble for that, But I'd love to hear your input.
Yeah, well, I've always been under the impression that my first, I guess, assumption is that it's a nutritional deficiency. So would you agree with that?
Not always.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And so sometimes dogs will do it for that reason. So of course it's good to come to the vet and find out what's the cause.
Yeah.
But there also can be for anxiety. It can be just out of habit, maybe again, they're hungry. I have had puppies that probably weren't getting quite enough nutrition.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, I'm going to eat my recycled food.
Yeah. Well, I asked too, because in my experience, a lot of times when people have that issue, my first recommendation is get them better food. And in a lot of cases that can help. It doesn't always solve the issue. But yeah, I agree. That's definitely something. So one thing that Logan did one time, not eating poop, but we were up in the mountains. It was wintertime and we're on this little hike. And next thing I know, I see him smelling the ground, and he rubs his head and then body, and he did it on poop.
Oh, he did.
And I was like, what is wrong with you? And, my wife was like, that's disgusting. Like, why would he do that? And I'm like, because he's a dog, And so I tell people all the time, when we look at behaviors like, why is the dog doing that? And well, they're a dog. And from his perspective, he's just trying to get his scent on top of that. Yeah. And kind of overtake it. And another common thing that I see people, they don't understand is why dogs sniff our private areas.
Yes.
That's another one that kind of throws people off. And I always like to explain to them, it's because the dog is trying to get to know you. And it sounds kind of weird, but it's such a personal smell that for the dog's perspective, this is exactly why they smell each other's butts, because that is very specific to that animal.
Well, that goes along with another behavior that I get asked about and sometimes have to do surgery on, but dogs love our socks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And, and sometimes t-shirts, things
Yep.
like that, because they really carry our scent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know many a dog that clients have had, they went to the laundry, pulled out all the dirty socks and, went running around with them because they
Yeah.
thought these smell great.
Yeah. And they smell. So I often tell my clients, take it as a compliment. It's not obviously not a wanted behavior. We don't want them chewing up our stuff. But one of the reasons why they do is because it smells like us. So sometimes it could be a comforting thing as well.
Yeah.
Where the dog is getting, let's say, we'll say like close to the individual. Like it's like having a very personal item from your favorite person where you're like
Yes.
holding on to. Like this means so much to me. And that's a lot of the reasons why dogs do it, especially puppies. It usually will be an item from their favorite person that they're chewing on, and it's just their way. It's like I said, take it as a compliment. Although obviously we don't want that to happen, but that's usually one of the reasons. So, is there any breeds in your experience that can be a little bit more weird, quirky, or have like funny
And
habits?
I always feel like the smarter dogs tend to have more quirky behaviors.
Yeah.
And so I usually tell people that, like, hey, your dog is super smart. It's very perceptive of the world. And sometimes they'll interact in strange ways. I think maybe the calmer, more relaxed dogs are just chill and they're happy to just sit and stay and play.
Yeah. Speaking of play, one of the things I love to see a dog do when they play and entertain themselves, when they throw toys up in the air, it's always interesting it's almost like a different awareness that they have of, and I guess it's fairly normal, but to see like our dog Charlie does this, our puppy, she's a Yorkie, and we have a little green ball with two holes, one on either side of the ball, and we can put food and treats in there.
Yeah.
And she understands how it works, where if she drops the ball, that food will fall out. So what she's learned to do is walk around. She'll kind of gain a little momentum and pick up her speed and then chuck the ball in the air and it lands on the ground. And it's always so great to see a dog figure things out and like learn how to manipulate things around them to get what they want. And I would say for me, that's probably maybe along the lines of a quirky behavior, but to see dogs learn how to interact with the environment to their own benefit, I think is super fascinating.
She saw that toy as a piñata, basically.
Yeah, pretty
She's
much.
like, I'll bust it open, get all the candy.
Yeah, and then she's learned too that we'll throw it for her, and we help her out because we'll like throw it in the air or like toss it on the ground really hard so that the food falls out. So sometimes, I don't know, maybe she's not like getting what she wants out of it, so she'll bring it up and literally nudge it at us like, hey, throw this thing. So it's really funny to see her do that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've heard of the term Zoomies.
Of course.
How would you define Zoomies?
So basically, it's a very happy thing to watch, or at least from what I've seen.
Yeah.
The dogs get this burst of energy and they run and run and run, and you can almost see the smile on their face. They're just using all this energy up, and it's great. And of course, it drives us a little crazy because we're like, oh, I just got home from work. I'm really tired. And, my dog is zooming all over the place.
Yeah. I have clients that on both ends. So some people love it and some people don't because it happens at the wrong time. I usually recommend for people to have what I call controlled Zoomies, where we, in a sense, provoke the dog to get playful. So we essentially control that playtime. So we let the dog have the Zoomies. I always looked at it like a way to release any pent up energy that the dog might have. And a lot of times it could be beneficial for the dog. I would say in areas that it's not is when it's happening too much from the dog's, like where the dog is controlling it. So they're just basically running around uncontrolled as much as they want, and what can be a problem for a lot of people, which is when they tend to not like it very much.
So maybe having a scheduled Zoomie time is a good idea. So
absolutely.
Right when you get home from work, it's Zoomie time. And then we stop and we do other things.
Correct. Yeah. And then when you stop them, just make sure that you put it to an end.
Right.
Yeah. And some dogs too, I mean, I would say a potential issue too is like injury. So some dogs love to use furniture as part of their little Zoomie obstacle
they're like
course.
little parkour
yes,
dogs.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're running off the couch, and I'm sure you've experienced people who come in bring their dog in and they've got like an injured leg or something like that because they jumped off the couch
Yes.
too much. Does that happen a lot in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, especially as dogs get older. So when they're like babies and they do the Zoomies, they're pretty flexible. It's like a little kid, they run
Yes.
around and trip and fall and they're fine. But the older dogs are like, well, okay, I'm 10 now. I shouldn't have jumped off the couch, but I did.
Yeah.
Then they're
Yeah.
like, ah.
They have no idea. One thing I've been really looking forward to asking you is dogs that when they're getting comfortable on a bed and they're spinning around
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, sometimes I've seen my own dogs do this. It's like, what are you waiting for? Like an invitation? Let's lay down already. Do you know the reason behind that? What's that all
So I
about?
think it goes back into their instincts, their natural DNA. And
Okay.
I think, again, they're making sure that their bed is smooth. They're also looking for things that shouldn't be in the bed, like maybe in the past it would have been like a scorpion or a spider or
Okay.
something. So they're kind of clearing and they're just making sure it's just right for them to lay down. That's
Gotcha.
my thought on it.
Yeah, same. I mean, it looks because I mean, I'll watch my dogs all day because I just love it.
Right.
Yeah. As far as dogs stealing personal items, I know we touched on. Is this something that you experienced in your practice, aside from socks, like where they need surgery, or there are other items that have been a concern?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is obviously we don't want dogs to swallow objects that are too large to pass through the intestines.
Yeah.
And it happens unfortunately quite frequently. It's usually the used laundry items,
Yes.
because they smell like us. So
Yeah, yeah.
so it is important, I've had several clients that had to make sure their laundry was up too high for the dogs to get to it.
Gotcha.
And again, one of the things I see with the dog's quirky behaviors, they steal the sock. They know you're going to take it away, so they will swallow it before you can do it. So one tip I learned, and I'd love to hear your input, is if you offer them a treat in exchange for giving the item that you would
Yeah.
like back.
Yeah. So I have a love-hate relationship with that advice.
Okay.
And the reason why is because early on, especially with puppies, that can help when in a pinch, so to speak, if you really need to get an item back. The problem though is that dogs are super smart. So
Yeah.
they can quickly learn
If
that
they
they can
steal stuff?
steal something and then they'll be offered a
They're
ransom
rewarded.
in order to get it. So especially when it comes to puppies, what I always recommend my clients do, number one, good supervision and management. Try your best to not let them get those items. But if they do get the item, the best thing that you can do is actually squat down, get excited, and get the puppy to come to you with the item so that you can calmly take it from them and then redirect their attention elsewhere. I never want, especially a young puppy, I never want to teach them that if they have an item that I'm going to chase them down and snatch it from them,
Okay.
because that can create resource guarding. It could also create a defensive puppy or a submissive puppy. So if we yell no and we're frustrated and we go and grab it, depending on the dog's personality, they can become submissive. And that's not what I'm looking for either. I don't want them to be
Right.
afraid if they grab something. And then, like you mentioned, if we go and we snatch things, then the dog ends up learning to quickly swallow it so that we don't take it from them.
Yes.
So to avoid all of that, the best thing to do if the puppy or dog grabs something is to invite them to come to you so that you can calmly grab it. Again, I'm not a fan of trading.
Okay,
Because
that makes sense.
too many repetitions of that, and the dog is quickly going to learn. They're going to go up.
I
There's
know
an
how to
item.
get treats
So
from-
that sock over there equals a treat. That remote over there equals a treat, and that's the last thing that we want to teach them.
Very good
Yeah.
advice.
What's the strangest thing that you've seen a dog eat?
Um, well, I've seen lots of strange
Besides
things
poop.
besides poop. So I did have a dog, and it was a beautiful, well-behaved lab, and it ate an entire box of Q-tips.
Oh wow.
Unopened. I mean, I could understand if they were in the trash, a dog might be like, yeah, it smells like my owner's earwax.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was clean. And I think the dog was just bored.
Okay.
But it swallowed the entire box full. And so we did have to do surgery to remove those. The dog recovered, no problem. But I thought, how odd.
Yeah.
Why would you eat a Q-tip?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of that comes from boredom and lack of supervision. So sometimes dogs get into habits of chewing on weird things just because they've kind of been allowed to do it. I normally recommend, I like to look at chewing items as strategic items to give dogs to fulfill any potential boredom that they might have.
Right.
So instead of leaving bones and stuff like that laying around, I recommend giving the dog those items at specific times. I call it downtime.
Oh, yeah.
So here's what you do now. If I'm going to go, eat dinner or prep food, or I got some work to do on the computer, here's a bone. This is what you chew on. This way I don't have to worry about the dog wandering around and trying to find things to chew on.
In the case of my dog, here's a piece of cardboard. Go
Yeah,
at
exactly.
It.
Yeah. But I'm sure supervised too, right? Or unless
He's always supervised.
Yeah. Well, because I had a friend who actually had a dog that did the same stuff. So he'd give her a box, and the dog, she would just tear up the box. It was actually really funny to watch because she really got into it. And that's another thing too, is like understanding that quirky individual thing for your dog. Like Logan, he could care less about tearing up something. He likes to chew and gnaw on stuff. He's not one to want to rip anything apart, but some dogs love that stuff.
Yeah.
They actually make toys now where they intentionally come apart. So as the dog is pulling at it, it rips off, and then you just pretty much piece it back together later on. You can give it back to the dog, which I think is pretty cool and such a testament to the individual personalities and desires and quirkiness of each dog. Are there any issues that you've seen with dogs barking at nothing for no reason?
Yeah, so I think dogs will do that for a whole variety of reasons. A younger dog, it might just be out of boredom. They're just like, hey, maybe I should bark. Or they oftentimes get rewarded because if they bark, they get the attention that they were seeking. Absolutely. I have seen older dogs, they can get canine cognitive dysfunction, basically, dementia for older dogs. And those dogs sometimes, it's kind of creepy. You're like, is there a ghost in the house? They'll bark at random stuff. But they also can hear things that we can't.
Yes,
I think that's a big difference. Like we might not hear a low rumble around the corner, but they do. And they're like, I have to protect you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I tell my clients all the time, especially if they really think that the dog is barking at nothing. And I try to remind them that they can hear such a higher range of frequencies than we can. So there could be a car alarm that's going off 2 blocks away that we can't perceive, but the dog can, or other sounds that they might be perceiving that we have no idea is happening. So usually I would say it's more than likely that they're not barking at nothing. They're barking at something. We just can't perceive it.
Right.
I know that humping and mounting can be an issue too. It's kind of a weird, quirky behavior. What is your experience with that? Have you seen that happen in your practice a lot?
Oh, I get asked all the time. I have a female dog who's spayed. She's 2 years old and she's humping my leg, and they're very puzzled by that.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that that's really more of a dominance type of a behavior.
Okay.
So, and I usually do see that even with younger puppies
where
they're trying to dominate somebody in the family. They're like, I can be the alpha dog.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true from your experience as well.
I think it depends. So for example, I think as a general description of that behavior, we can label that as a dominant behavior. However, I like to remind people that doesn't necessarily equate to your dog being a dominant dog. Dogs are opportunists. Logan is a really good example of that. He is not a dominant dog by any means. He's actually the opposite of that. He can be very reserved and he's very non-confrontational. However, there are some times in play with other dogs where I see this change in him where he's like, he just starts to put that one paw behind the dog on their hindquarters. And I instantly see that. I'm like, and I'll stop him. But I've seen him do that with some dogs, not all dogs. So he's not the kind of dog that's just walking around trying to mount every dog he encounters. There are some dogs that are like that, and we could label them as dominant type dogs.
Right.
So I would agree that it's viewed as a dominant behavior, but oftentimes too, I think that dogs, they have hormones. So there's this sort of instinctual desire or this instinctual drive that takes over, that it's more like an involuntary response, that they're not really quite sure. And then also a lot of times people will be confused because their dog is spayed or neutered. And they're like, why are they still humping? And I'm like, well, it's a behavior trait. It's not necessarily directly related to hormones as much as it is the dog just exploring and being a little bit of an opportunist, so to speak.
Right. And I do find most of those dogs that are exhibiting that behavior, it's usually with one person in the family. It's not the whole family. So again, I think they've picked this person, like maybe I could be a little bit higher up on the pack with this one.
Yeah. And I've actually seen people that find it funny and they laugh at it. And so they kind of allow it to happen because they're like, oh my gosh, look at this dog humping my leg. And I'm like, you need to stop that immediately because it's really not healthy for many reasons, or appropriate for that matter. Are there any behaviors that you, in your experience, like a quirky behavior that would indicate maybe a concern like anxiety or maybe lack of fulfillment?
One of the most quirky behaviors I see where I do worry about a medical condition would be a dog that is circling
Okay.
because dogs sometimes will circle, and that's a quirkiness, or chase their tail around in circles, or walk kind of sideways, they're just
Yes.
having fun. But if you see your dog like continuing circling without a purpose, that would be very much a medical heads up
Okay.
that they should have an exam.
What would you suspect it to be?
Probably something in their central nervous system.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, again, not always dogs will have things, but especially if it's a new behavior, I
Yeah.
think that's
Okay.
always key.
Gotcha. One, from my perspective, I would say, if not medical, then usually some form of like OCD
Yes.
or extreme boredom, where the dog, and I've seen this a lot, unfortunately, in like shelters where dogs are, they're kind of locked up all day, so they learn to just entertain themselves by chasing their tail.
Oh,
Yeah, I had a dog that I worked with from a rescue who that was like her thing. She would be in her crate and she would just spin around and chase her tail.
wow.
So lots and lots of exercise, lots of physical and mental stimulation to help her, avoid doing that anymore. I want to jump into our Ask Me Anything portion.
That
I'm
sounds
excited.
fantastic.
We've got some questions lined up. By the way, before I do, I have a question for you. We talked about poop eating. How do you pronounce the medical term for that?
It's called coprophagia.
Coprophagia.
Yes.
Okay, because every time I see that word, I like struggle to sound it out. So coprophagia.
Coprophagia.
Coprophagia. Okay, it's for everybody watching. Thank you. All right, so the first question we have is, why does my dog shake after he finishes eating?
So that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be excitement,
Okay.
like again, they're all excited about like their food and they shake after. It could be that they're, digesting and maybe it's not going down completely well. So I
Okay.
guess, if somebody's trembling, there's a difference between excitement and also like uncomfort,
Yeah.
or being uncomfortable.
Yep. All right, next question. Why does my dog bring me something whenever I walk in the door after being gone?
So I think they're being a very nice, greeter.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, my favorite person is home. Let me bring him a present.
Yep, I agree.
Let's
Sometimes,
play."
yeah, I usually see that a lot with like golden retrievers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they always got something in their
There's
mouth.
something
they'll
in
bring
their
over.
mouth.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's cute. It's kind of like an endearing behavior.
Yes, it is.
To come up. It's like they have their favorite item and they trust you enough to
Bring
walk
it
up
to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, next one. Why does my dog always want to lick off all my lotion and skincare?
Oh, yes. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
So, again, dogs will sit there and you're holding them on your lap. It's usually smaller dogs, although large ones can too, but they'll just lick and lick and lick. So I think either they somewhat like the taste of lotion, which I don't think I like the taste of lotion, but they also feel like it's sort of a interaction with you, a sort of grooming together,
Okay.
and so it's a self-soothing type of behavior, a very
Yeah.
bonding thing.
Yeah, I've noticed too that submissive type dogs tend to
Yes.
lick a little bit more.
Or anxious dogs.
Yeah, or anxious. Yeah, good point. When that could be a part of it as well, but might definitely kind of weird that liking the taste of lotion.
Yeah.
But I would say it depends on the lotion as well, because some of them have
Like
different scents and
coconut or
flavors.
something.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they're like, "Oh, that tastes good."
Yep. And so the next one, my dog loves an unboxing.
Well, that sounds
Yeah.
like me.
Anytime I get a package or come home from a trip and unpack my suitcase, my dog has to be involved and dig through everything. Why does he do that?
Well, I think a sense of curiosity,
Yeah.
but also maybe once, and I've heard this, that dogs remember if something happened one time, if there was ever a treat in there in a box that they opened, or a toy for them,
Yeah.
or maybe a treat in your suitcase, they remember, so they want to look. Maybe it'll happen again.
Yeah, that, and also I would say, just like you said, a curiosity. If we go on a trip, like I was just in Arizona visiting a friend and came back, and Logan was sniffing all over my bag, my suitcase. And again, just curious, wanting to know. I've also found that with my dogs, when I get dressed, they come up to me and they'll sniff my clothes. Like when I had my shepherd, she'd do that all the time. Logan does that. And one of the reasons is because, or at least I've determined just based on observing them, it's because they want to know if they're coming with me or not.
Oh,
Because when I put on my work clothes, when I work with clients, usually I'll take them because they're a part of the training.
so they know we're going to work today.
Exactly. Or they maybe have that expectation versus if I'm putting on like gym clothes or I'm going out to dinner with my wife, those clothes, they can smell the difference and they know whether or not they'll be accompanying me. Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by dogs. I can talk about this stuff all day. I say that all the time. It's so true. Why does my dog lick the floor constantly?
So I hear that a lot as well. That's super common. If anybody out there is thinking their dog is the only one, you're not.
Yep.
So the dogs usually lick the floor. I think, again, very self-soothing. It's usually an anxiety reliever.
Yeah.
I tell people it's very much the same as if a child sucks their thumb.
Okay.
It's self-soothing. And so dogs will just sit there and lick the floor. I've had dogs that do that with carpet, with blankets, with towels.
Yeah.
It just makes them feel good. So
yeah, I've seen dogs even like suckle on toys and stuff like that. And a lot of people were concerned about that, but I agree, just self-soothing. Generally, I don't think that that's anything to be concerned about.
no, I usually tell people that they're not harming themselves
Agreed.
and it's relieving their anxiety. So it's okay to let them do that.
Yep, totally agree. My dog sits on his back legs like a person. Is that normal? And is it okay for his joints?
So it's not really a normal thing. Their whole physical structure is not really meant to sit like
Yeah.
that. I think certain dogs, and we all have that little picture of the dog standing there with the little paws waving. They've learned how to sit and they get a reaction from us. We're like, oh my gosh, oh,
Yes.
quick, go take a video. You know, this is so cool. So the dogs are like, hey, I get a lot of positive reinforcement for that.
Very true.
I think that's the main reason why they do it.
Okay. I've seen a video of a dog that literally sat in a chair.
Like this kind of a chair.
Yes. So cushioned, but it sat, I mean, sitting straight up. It was the weirdest thing. And I remember this video very vividly because the girl who took it was sitting there like with her mom. She's like, okay, does anyone else's dog do this? It's so weird. And then she pans the camera and her mom's sitting there and then the dog is sitting there looking like they were all enjoying a coffee and having a conversation.
Oh my gosh.
And the dog's just sitting there with like this, such a funny expression on its face. And I'm like, man, this is like one of the reasons why I love dogs, because it's quirky stuff like this that just adds so much to them and their personality and like just the overall vibe that they give us and how they entertain us with all the silly things that they do. Something as simple as sitting in a chair like a person. All right. Why does my corgi insist on joining me in the bathroom at all times?
Oh, yes. That's, you know.
I don't think that's a corgi thing, though. I think
No, it's not a corgi thing. Corgis for sure would do that, but many other breeds would do that.
Yeah.
So I think, again, they don't have a sense of embarrassment that, you know, you're going to the bathroom, you'd like some
Exactly.
privacy.
Yep.
They don't know what the word privacy means
Correct.
exactly. So I think they just feel like, hey, well, I'm part, you know, I want to be with a person I love.
Yeah.
Let me just go wherever they go.
Yep.
And they're curious. You know, they pick up a lot of smells and stuff too. So they're like, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Other thing that maybe not as healthy is if they truly have separation anxiety and they can't let you out of their sight
Yes.
for 1 second. It's too long.
Yeah, I agree. And oftentimes when I have a client that has a dog that seems to be very codependent and needy, I let them know it's healthier to teach them like a place command or use a crate and just create healthy separation throughout the day, like
Right.
periods of time where you don't interact with the dog, just to sort of normalize that. I also would say that the dogs who accompany us in the bathroom, I would ask somebody, are you knowingly or unknowingly petting and loving on the dog as you're using the
Are
bathroom?
you rewarding them for
Yeah,
coming
because
in?
that could be a reason too, right? So they know that they get extra affection when you're hanging out, so they join you in there. And then I've often heard too that a dog is like keeping watch, which I would say I wouldn't rule that out, but I think in our lives, it's usually they're being rewarded for it, or they just, you know, maybe feel a little needy and want to be closer to that
Yes.
person. Yeah. Dr. Kathy, it's been so fun to sit here and chat with you about all the quirky things and crazy habits that dogs do. Such a pleasure. Love having you on.
Antonio, it's been really fun to hear all your insights on these quirky behaviors. It is one of my favorite things to talk about as well.
Likewise. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't leave yet. I just want to say, if you want to hear more about health and pet care, check out these episodes of Care Experts. Also, before you go, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. New episodes drop every Wednesday. You don't want to miss it.